We are grateful for your presence and for taking the time to share your valuable knowledge and expertise with us. Next, I extend a warm welcome to our Head of the Department of Aeronautical Engineering, Dr. Pradeep Chennai, and to the Head of the Department of Automobile Engineering, Dr. Sandesh Kumar Rai. Sir, we are grateful for your presence and constant support. Welcome. I also extend my warm welcome to all the faculty members. We are honored to your presence and encouragement. And finally, a heartfelt welcome to all my fellow students. Thank you. Now, I would like to hand over the session to Professor Vivek Vijay Kumar, our extreme resource person. Sir, over to you.
Thank you. What's your name?
Kamala.
Kamala. Thank you, Kamala. That was a wonderful day. And I used to get paid for doing really boring work. Taking a cylinder out, fixing the main engine. Excellent engineering work, but I found it really boring. When I was in school, my mother used to come to my, around 7th, 8th standard, my mother used to come to my class, my teacher used to call, "You tumba matartane class alli, yavag nodi, hinde nodi matar." Now I get invited to talk. I am doing the same thing and I am getting paid for it. So for anybody who is getting into their professional world, get into work that you get paid for and you like to do. Mattu kelsa anisudilla. Artha aita? So that is just one piece of advice. I don't know what you will find. You will find, I think, something very different. Engineering in the last 2 years and 3 years has changed. So the faster you equip yourself, I am 46, I am running, in Malayalam they tell Naad Odumba Nadu Odum. That means when the town is running, you run along with your town, right? Don't stay behind. So all of this is a part. So as I am doing presentations, I am starting to find out new ways of looking how AI is doing. So thank you, Praveen sir, thank you, Sandesh sir, thank you to all the faculty who kindly invite me every time. Despite being not an expert at AI, I am not an expert at AI. I am just obsessively tinkering it. I am a tinker more than an expert. So the first part, I'll break it down by talking to 2 parts. The first part is where we as a nation stand in AI. So very macro point of view. Correct? One question I have to ask before I get started with my presentation. Can anybody in very briefly, in a minute, tell me what was talked yesterday? ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷದಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ನಿನ್ನೆ ಕೇಳಿದಿರಲ್ಲ. ಈಗ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಬಿ ಶೈ. You have sat through an hour session. ಅದನ್ನು ನೀವು ಚಾಟ್ GPT ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡುವ ತರ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಸಮರೈಸ್ ಇಟ್ and give it to me.
No, just because he can frame his
I will frame it such that I will not repeat what was told yesterday. ನಿನ್ನೆ ಏನು ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರು? Can you give me an example? Sarvam, okay. We will come back to Sarvam a little later. We will go on to the better side. So we will talk very briefly. I will not talk about Bharat Gen, but definitely where Bharat Gen comes into the picture, because when you are talking about the nation, you have to talk about where it is there. All right. What else was talked?
whatever comes to your mind.
Whatever comes to your mind. What stuck? Huh? Agriculturally, are they using it, or they want to use it, or it's being used? They are using it. Fair. Okay. Do you know anybody who uses in their? How many have no relatives who have got fields or agriculture? Manayalli tota ide. Alla pakka. AI ide alli. Illa. In Marathi, AI means I, your mother. So mother is most probably in the field. Maybe not AI. But yeah, it will get there. But the question of implementation and so okay. So let's get into where we stand right now. Okay. So what do you mean by exascale? So this one is a logarithmic graph. Can any tell me what do you mean by, or more than logarithmic, this is exponential to the power e. ನಿಮಗೆ ಲೀನಿಯರ್ ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ವಾಟ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್. ನೀವು ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ y ಕೀಪ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್. ಲಾಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ 10 times. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋನೆಂಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಯು ಟೇಕ್ ಟು ದಿ ಪವರ್ e. ಸೊ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಯು ಆರ್ ಸಮ್ವೇರ್ here. We can more or less say this. I would say a little more flatter curve and then exponentially it comes up. Now what do you mean by exascale? Now what you have to understand is all of what you are seeing today, including the free usage of ChatGPT. There are 800 million users of ChatGPT now. It is the largest, what you can say, fastest growing technology or adapted technology in recent memory or in memory. Till the time we have seen adoption of technology. Technology gets adopted very slowly. I saw my computer when I was in my engineering, okay? But the computers have been there for the last, I think from 86, you could get a Commodore set and you could do it. But by the time it got adapted in India, it was far too late. Maybe some people have seen that in their lab, floppy disk hacking. But the adoption is very late. Unlike something called ChatGPT, which came 2022 December, I ran around in campus showing it to people. And within 6 months, I think everybody had it in their workflow in one way or the other. Okay, the adoption is there. But as soon as you start adopting, you have to use resources, which we were talking to him in the morning about servers and all. So you have these big data centers with massive GPU clusters. Gaming yaar ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಪೈಲಿ? What do you play?
Used to play this one. It's very good.
No problem. It will come back. When it comes back, we can resume.
Used to play Assassin's Creed and NFS.
And very good. Okay. So I used to play GTA at one point of time, and there was a game called Half-Life. Obsessively, I have played it. When can somebody switch this on? My engineering, my brother is 2 years younger than me. Engineering, so we used to shut ourselves in the room. We would tell our mother we are studying for our exam, and 4 hours we will play. Then let me on the laptop and 4 hours. So we finished the game in I think 2 weeks. Engineering vacations were wonderful. So gaming is good. So if you want to do gaming, you need a graphic processing unit. The better the graphic processing unit, because all your graphics are kind of built with polygons. And these polygons are made of matrices, which you have studied in, I think second semester or first semester, I don't know. Matrix multiplication or POL. So imagine matrix multiplications with real numbers. For that you cannot have CPUs. CPUs do bits of multiplication, but real numbers tumma kashta. So you need GPU. And this massive cluster of GPUs, you need to run things like this. So you need to train the model, you need to build interface. That means every time you ask a query, it should run. All of that runs on GPUs. For that, you have to build clusters. Correct? So you have to build AI clusters. Now, the problem is, where is this AI cluster? Now, it is not, I am not taking a policy decision, you are not taking a policy decision. But this policy decision will be taken by your representatives. You will be a part of this conversation. Every time you go to the ballot box, just as you are telling, do we have roads? Do we have power plants? Does electricity come to your house? Another question that you should be able to ask your government is that, do we have AI clusters? Why? The more intelligence is there in-house, the better your nation is equipped for the next 30 years. 101%. Correct? Now you will find these. So this has created a binary outcome. Binary andre ide illa. Solpa ide. Either you have it or you don't have it. And that scale has shifted since. So your AI clusters have gone beyond the 1 billion. So I will give you a figure that, how many, I will come back in this. How much do you think is GPUs are there with us as compared to the US? Anybody has any idea? There again, that is also clustered. The GPU, say the 100 chips that come from NVIDIA TPU clusters. Any idea? In scale, how much is the difference? Now, with the present budget, which is half, which unfortunately should not have been half, no, I was not very happy with it. 2,000 koti andru, 1,000 koti ge madidare. And out of that, quite a bit will go into education and advertising and all of that. But not GPU clusters as such. 38,000, 38,000 India. Elon Musk's Memphis GPU, one cluster at Memphis, Tennessee, is 1 laksha. cluster. And I'm not talking about Google, I'm not talking about OpenAI, I'm not talking about any one of those. So exascale basically means that you have these big players who have taken up all of this, and we are kind of, so it will run to almost 1 billion in 2027. So the money we are putting in, we have got 11 billion, and this is next 5 years. Okay. Again, why all of you are not going to take, but this should be there in your mind. Why am I unable to get? Why am I unable to afford certain things that other people are getting first access to? If you are getting first access to this and you are paying for it, this is going for one of these reasons. If we are able to do, correct? Then this is the reason. So you have United States at 470 billion. This is through companies, through their government. Plus they have an AI policy that just like Bharat first over here, they have an AI policy over there. China is the next one. China is the biggest competitor for them. Correct? There was a very good documentary that I saw yesterday. High school biotech competition, the world over, they have to make synthetic bio. This is high school competition. Okay? Out of that, one team from US, one team from Europe, and another team from somewhere else. Rest 7 teams that won that competition were from China. This is high school team. That means they have a synthetic biology lab in there. That is where they are putting their money. That is where it is going. Alright. So US dominance right now. All of this tech, mega tech, that means your Amazon, Meta, Nvidia, Google, Microsoft, all of them are there. They are based in the US. They are putting their money over there. Trump wants them to be there, not go outside. All of these things added together, they are putting it. China, for example, they are putting in through their R&D effort, but China is also, just like India, thinking locally. They are not thinking of going. The open idea is, say for example, OpenAI, Kelly company, that makes ChatGPT, no? Now OpenAI started as a open source, so GPT-2 is open source. But OpenAI becomes proprietary and becomes a closed model. The biggest outsourcers of open source models in the world are China, which should be right opposite. China, everything is controlled by the state, but they are the ones who are leading in open source models. Why? If you want to defeat US proprietary models, China. The same export restrictions that we had, 18%, they can't get the latest chips. Chips manufacture model. So they are trying to run things by, and Chinese engineers are very good, trying to get it. So there is an asymmetry. That means 470 billion. That asymmetry is something that we have to solve. Again, we are good at jugaad, so we have to find it. So proprietary model. Now, all models are not the same. What do you use? What is your daily driver AI model? ChatGPT. ChatGPT allada ಬೇರೆ ಏನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ? DeepSeek, correct? Through their interface. So you have elite models now. DeepSeek and Kimi and the Coin models from China are somewhere within that elite tier. So the elite tier, basically, these are the best models in the world, where they have put the maximum amount of money, the biggest GPU clusters, the best engineers in the world. They have all come together, and you are trying to get the biggest model. Now GPT-5 was there, now it is 5.3, most probably this month it should be out. Claude, they have got their 4.6 Opus model. So this one you have to remember, token andre not what you give in a canteen, other than that. ಕೇಳಿದೀರಾ ಟೋಕನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಂತ? ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅದು? Credits, very good. What does that mean? Every time you ask something to ChatGPT, it gets tokenized. How are you? Think of it as 3 tokens. How are and you, more tokens. That 3 tokens go through their server, come back, and then it gives your answer not as a sentence, in tokens. Okay? So if you want to do something, you have to pay for those tokens. You are paying for intelligence. The cheaper your token rate, the more you can use it. The more expensive your token rate, the less you can use it. But the better your models, more the token rate. So if you have a premium product, you tend to pay more. So you have about about $6 for a million. Now, on the average figure, this will keep token count will keep going down. For this is almost 1/10 of it. So, ನಿಮಗೆ 60 cents ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು million token ನಿಮಗೆ ಬರ್ಬೋದು, especially with things like deep sea. Now, there is also physical charge. Now, what do you mean by this? The amount of money that is being spent as per GDP. Now, we are having only 0.6% by GDP. Very similar to how much we spend on education also, 0.2% of our GDP, very less, correct? This adds on to the problem. So basically, no GPU clusters, very less money, very less resources that we tend to have. So this is the mission that we have. This is the government mission. It is there. If you look at your latest budget also, we have about, they told 2,000 crores, now we are down to 1,000 crores for this. That is 120 billion. 1 billion ಅಂದ್ರೆ 1000 million. That is 460 billion in the US. We are about 120 million, and in 5 years we are planning to put 1.5 to 5 crores. Very mathematically, this does not compare even to one company, say for example Google or OpenAI. But this is where it stands in reality right now. Right? Now, again, now if you want to train a model, GPT 4.6, GPT 5, Claude 4.6, Opus, ನಿಮಗೆ ಇದು ಟ್ರೈನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ you need GPU cluster. Now what do you mean by GPU cluster? Not one GPU. You have thousands and millions of GPUs in one place, or in different servers. They are all connected together. Now if you want to train them, India say wants sovereignty. There is something called a sovereign AI. ನಿನ್ನೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಅವರು, ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೀರಾ? Sovereign AI. Now what does it mean? Sovereign AI means the AI model that is treated on Indian data, that is owned by India, and it is built for Indians. For example, bias ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ. Now AI models have a certain sort of bias. Why? It is being trained on data that is there on the internet. India got access to the internet much later. So the majority of the data is created in English. It is for a certain audience that knows and speaks English. So if you want to speak, ನಿಮಗೆ ತುಳುವಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಬೋದಾ ಜೆಮಿನಿ ಹತ್ರ? ಜೆಮಿನಿ ಒಂದು ಕ್ಯಾಬ್ ಬುಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿ, will it book? Yes, no? You can speak in Kannada. Kannada ಮಾತಾಡ್ಬೋದು. There is a wonderful video of a granny who doesn't know, YouTube ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಲ್ಲ Instagram ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು. The grandson puts Gemini and it starts speaking in Malayalam. The grandmother doesn't know that this is an AI speaking, and she goes to the conversation. She asks, "Oh, how are you?" And she tells it's Gemini. She thought Gemini is a girl, and she speaks to the girl. Very, very cute and very innocent looking video. But suppose nange Tulu ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ, if you want to make a Tulu AI, for example, what would you need? ಏನು ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ? You will need text. You will need no, LLM works on text more or less. Tulu lipi ಇದೆಯಾ? ಇದೆ. But do you have literature? No. So automatically there is no data. The other data that can be done, you take Tulu movies, you take Tulu Nataka, that corpus of data which is in audio or video format, you convert it into text that most probably come out in Kannada, and then you train an AI to speak linguistically in that language, correct? For all of that, what I am telling, if you want to do something like that, you will need this. Now H100s are the ones that are being, this is ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹಳೆ H100s, but they are the most common chip. The Blackwell chip, and my suggestion is that on YouTube, ನೀವು anytime NVIDIA does any sort of presentation, watch it. Because you know what your world is going to look like in 3 years time or 4 years time. The hardware comes, first the hardware is being taught, then the software follows. So your Blackwell chips, this came out last year, they are the ones are there. So 60% of your training cost goes in this, building hardware, building structures, which is why maximum amount of money right now is being put into building data centers, which is the conversation we had in the morning, servers. You have to pay. So in case in another 10 years you are invest your money wherever they are making hardware for this. Look at companies. So there is one company in India that makes, if anybody is interested in the stock market, okay, I will not tell you the name, find out, that makes cooling solutions for for this. ಅದರದ್ದು ಒಂದು stock is 14,000 rupees. One stock of that company. Because it is making cooling solutions for these companies, but AC, I can't get 14,000, I can't spend. So India we are supposed to get about 38,000 GPUs. Now there is another paradox. No money, GPU clusters illa. Second, there is something called as you would have heard, I would have heard during my time, it's called brain drain. ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅದು IIT-ಯಲ್ಲಿ ಓದ್ತಾರೆ, IIT-ಯಲ್ಲಿ ಓದಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ? ಅರವಿಂದ್ ಪರ್ಪ್ಲೆಕ್ಸಿಟಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? That fellow is an IIT Chennai graduate. Went and worked in OpenAI, then took their research from there. He is a US citizen now. You can see him supporting Trump, not as a US citizen. His green card bandilla unte. So always there supporting Trump. Correct? The idea, this is what you mean by drain. Now, if that person wanted to be here, he would face all of these infrastructural problems that including you and I face. ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟಿಗೆ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಬಂತ ನಿಮಗೆ? ಅಬ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಗಂಗಾಧರ್ ಸರ್ ಅಂತ ನೋಡುವಾಗ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅವರು, ಸರ್ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಡಿಡ್ ಯು ಸಿ ಟುಡೇ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಪೇಪರ್? ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಸಂಬಡಿ ರೀಡ್ಸ್ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಪೇಪರ್, ಏನು ಬಂದಿತ್ತು? VTU ಬಂದಿತ್ತು. ನಾನು ನಮ್ಮ ಈ ಗ್ರೂಪಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿದೆ, prototype is mandatory. Now what do you mean by prototype? Now I should tell students, prototype ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. There are three ways. You either don't spend money, do a project, or you spend money and do a project. Now everybody is come to that meeting. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ ಹಣ ಖರ್ಚು ಮಾಡಲೇಬೇಕು. Prototype is mandatory. Correct? The same problems is what we are facing as a country. ಒಂದು, ನನಗೆ 4 ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಜನ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಬಾಕಿ 4 ಜನ ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಪೂಜೆ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ನೀವು? ಇವಾಗ ಮುಟ್ಟಿನ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. So by connection you get all of that what that other person is doing. Correct? No expertise. Second, ನಡಕಾಸಿಂಚಿ ಮರ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. The same problem. No money. The person who is wanting to do that is not there. So low R&D, your inability to believe the same problem I have. ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಡೇಟಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, GPU cluster ಇಲ್ಲ, so we can't do it. Top researchers, they are migrating to US or China. China is another place where we are migrating towards right now. Correct? Which we didn't know. If you want to learn a language in the future, Spanish, French are the Chinese is, if you have some idea of Chinese, right, or Korean, go towards that. Every faculty in this room would look at that and nod and say, what does that mean? ನೀವು PhD, M.Tech ಮಾಡಿ PhD ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ the government ನಿಮಗೆ you can write the national eligibility test or your JRF exam, and as a PhD scholar you will get a stipend. But sometimes that stipend is not enough. Most of the time, 7-8 years you cannot survive on 30,000 or 40,000. Correct? To do your research, you may end up getting married, you may have a family. The stipends are very there. We have one faculty. I don't know how many people know Renston. Renston used to work here in the second shift. Prakash Sarikadu. He stayed here for a year, and after that he went to do his PhD in King Abdullah University. King Abdullah University is in Saudi, one of the top 200 universities in the world. His project is sponsored by McLaren F1 team, PhD. So the entire funding, he is traveling all over the world to do that project. He is doing on gas combustion and fuel combustion idu martidda gas turbines. This is entirely funded by the McLaren team, and he goes all around the world presenting all of this. Correct? Compare that to 90% of the Indian projects over here. Now, how are you going to, all of this is bad news, but what do you do to solve, correct, all of that? Now, the inefficiency trap, and this I feel everybody, entrepreneurship, innovation, nandu sellide hesaru yukti and innovation cell. I did not know the innovation was added at one point of time, but file submit ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಸರ್ innovation cell ಯಾಕಿಲ್ಲ ಇದೆ ಸರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ? So basically your consumers like you and me, what do? What do you do with ChatGPT? ChatGPT ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಪ್ಪ? What do? You're the every day morning you look at ChatGPT, no? What do you do with it?
Best example, I think she can correlate with the Baha team. She has been working with the Baha team. So there you might have used GPT for some.
You just tell me, no? I want to know how students use it. Okay, to get more information. But how is it better than Google? Google ಯಾರು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ ಈಗ? See how the world is shifted. If 10 years back you ask an engineering student, the faculty will tell, "Ye, ella Google alli nodi baridirappa neevu." Right? Now nobody uses Google, and this one I was telling to some other person. I said students don't look which college to come to from Google. They have shifted to ChatGPT. Okay? So you are a consumer. That means you ask a question, it gives you some information. You consume that information. We have to move from that consumer. That means and move on to being a creator. Now AI can help you do that also. Now the Baha team would take that information. Have you created something with ChatGPT? Yara Madidiri. Have you done it? No, yes. It is like your cell phone, for example. This is 1,000 times more powerful than the computer that sent people to the moon. 1,000 times or 1,000,000 times more powerful. But our end usage of what a phone can do is social media. Nothing wrong with social media. I am there on social media. Everybody is there on social media. Not that I am telling that. But you are consumers basically. So we have to move that. So student usage, 86% productivity. It used to take you 2 days to write an assignment. Now it takes half an hour to produce that assignment. The writing takes another 1 hour. You have saved enough time. The rest of the time you can do something else. Now people like you and me, we still have resistance. We do use it in most of our tasks, but in a lot of things, say for example publishing an article, getting an article written, right? Doing research. There is always that grey area. Can I do it? Can I not do it? Is it detectable? We are in between that entirely adapted and people are not adapted, and that very grey area right in between. So we are not really sure where you can do it. So there is always this tension. Nannan replace ಮಾಡ್ತದಾ? Will it replace faculty? Will it replace software engineers? Correct? But the answer to the latter question I think is yes. For the previous question I think over a period of time, maybe not in our lifetime. So you have to move from efficiency layer. That means you want to do more than doing your homework faster. You have to start creating, not acquiring new knowledge. Start creating new things, which is what he said, Praveen sir said in the beginning, right? You have domain knowledge. You have learned aeronautical, you have learned automobile. Can I take that domain knowledge and produce something that was never done before? Now, this one I've shown you, it's a part of the earlier slide, but what it means that for things that are proprietary and closed source, you have to pay for it. For open source, it's almost 0.83 cents. Now I will tell you where to find open source. The parity, that means the difference between these two, this one is there. Difference between these two, correct, is that if namge nimmondu GPU idre, and which is what I advise all faculty and HODs to keep telling your management, get more GPUs in educational institution, because once you have a GPU, you don't have to pay for intelligence. You can build your own model, open source model, download model, train it, let it run on your system, and then you can have things run locally. Maybe in another few years it may run on your phone, I'm not sure, but definitely. So when we are proprietary in that way, you want to come back to open source model. That is where our future as India lies, correct? Now our biggest issue is the question of mother tongue. Most of us get our knowledge by speaking in our mother tongue. Most people access news, things in their own mother tongue. You may not be. You are one of that 0.5% of Indians who can speak English and do it very, very well and have moved on to higher education. 15%. That's it, right? Students are in the coming. But most other people that tend to do it in their own language and their dialect, and Western centric model ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುದಿಲ್ಲ. How do I know that the assignment is written by ChatGPT? ಫ್ಯಾಕಲ್ಟಿಗೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತದೆ ನೀವು ChatGPT ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರ? ಹೇಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತದೆ? ಸೆಂಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರೇಮಿಂಗ್, ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್. ನೀವು ಬಂದು ಅವರ ಹತ್ರ ಅಸೈನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅವು ಬಲ್ಲೆಡ್ ಉಂಟು ಸರ್. And in your assignment, it is behind the bush. Two very different. Your presentation, so your faculty knows. You can't be able to do it, right? More or less, it is there. That's because it's a Western framework. Nothing wrong with language. Our English is also good, but our ability to present the way is there. For my daughter, the other day, she was telling, my teacher told me that she loves writing. She writes on her own. But her teacher told that, oh, how you write is like ChatGPT. That's become the reference. And she was feeling very proud. I said, why are you feeling proud that it is? Because I don't like the way ChatGPT writes. Right? Very clunky. Opus Claude ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಬರೀತದೆ. But ChatGPT by itself does not write very well. Correct? And then she said, no, what she meant was your English is good. ChatGPT ತರ, Google ತರ. Right? So now if you want to move from a Western centric model to an India centric model, and you want to tell your policy makers, your colleagues that this is what we want to do, this is where we are to. The second one is IKS ನೀವು ಓದಿದ್ದೀರ also. ನೆನಪಿಲ್ಲ. Indian system. Correct sir. ಈಗ ಓದ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಿ. What is there in that? History is there. Correct. Basically Indian, from our subcontinent, what came out. Okay, there was a wonderful YouTube video that I saw the other day. There is a school of mathematics called the Kerala School of Mathematics. As good as Leibniz, as good as Isaac Newton, we had people writing. But the thing is, it was not written in numerical or in formulas. It was written in shlokas. The shloka had to be broken down, and if you read the shloka, so the people are trying to find out, right? As good, so up to 14 digits of pi. Pi was there before that, but up to 14 digits into infinite series comes from the Kerala School of Mathematics, right? You had this schools to do astronomy, study the stars, just like the Greeks, just like the Persians, right? Who invented what do you call that? The sextant. Very similar. We had a school over Indian knowledge, Indian history, Indian philosophy. This data is unavailable on the present model. Then you have this Bharat data set. Now what is this? We have a lot of content that primarily is not taught or put into models. That is, we have TV footage, you have audio, you have written content that is and annotated. That means you have the data for it. ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದು ಇದರದ್ದು ಡೇಟಾ ಇದೆ. Annotation of data ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೀರಾ ನೀವು? Anybody doing an ML project here? Data science and AI/ML. Illa. You have not taken. See, NASA. There is a data set from NASA on a gas turbine engine. You can train your ML model to find out engine repair data. For example, this is the engine work or not work. You can train your own. That data is available on the NASA website. You can take it from there, right? If you very similarly, you have data over here to train all of these things. So if you want to participate, now AI for all, AI for you, AI for me, AI for my grandmother, AI for my farmer who is there. ಅದು ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ access ಬರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ all of these things should be there, right? Everybody should be able to participate with this, then we should be able to get it. Now, the biggest thing I think in our time, the biggest adoption of a technology has been UPI. ಇಷ್ಟು ಬೇಗ ಅಡಾಪ್ಟ್ ಆದ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ ನಾನು ನೋಡಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದಟ್ ವರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಸೀಮ್ಲೆಸ್ಲಿ ಅಕ್ರಾಸ್. ಉಂಟು ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಅದರ್ ದನ್ ದಟ್ ಮೋರ್ ಆರ್ ಲೆಸ್ ಎನಿ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಮೈ ಪಾನಿಪುರಿ ವಾಲಾ ಟು ದ ಗೈ ಹೂ ಮೇಕ್ಸ್ ಮೈ ಶವರ್ಮಾ ಟು ದ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಇನ್ ಮೈ ಕ್ಯಾಂಟೀನ್ ಈಸ್ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಯೂಸ್ UPI payments. Now if I want, so you want this digital payment app to be even better, you have to build a stack for it. So this is what they are planning. Service delivery. Now Indian government is that if I want to give the money that the government comes through schemes, Manrega, now the scrap scheme, but similar to that Manrega. you want to give it to the farmer directly. If I want to build the digital stack, then you tend to put all of that. But I don't want an OpenAI to come in between over there as a vendor. If I give it to Infosys also, Infosys will take their credit from Amazon cloud service. I want that digitally within the country. Why? Data is the new oil. I don't want to give that data. Somebody else said they can train their models. Namma data, and they can make money out of it. We don't want to do that. So you have to build. And when I mean you, the people who are there over here, right? So Bharat all of this comes over there. Generative AI from India. Bharat is basically that. So democratizing power. Make sure that you tell your MP, MLA, vote ಕೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬರುವಾಗ ನಿಮಗೆ in another future, the infrastructure that you want to build, is it in conversation or not? If they are talking about things that are hundreds of years old, no. For your future, this is one thing that you have to keep talking about. Now, what has India done? If you build, say, for example, now I think it's here. If you are a startup or if you are a researcher, through this 65 rupees per hour, you can get access to GPU. $300 ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ನೀವು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ Google ಅಲ್ಲಿ $300 credit you have to take to get. So for example, has anybody used Colab? Yes, you are not there in this conversation. We have been talking about it for too long, which is why I knew you would raise this end. Google Colab use ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ. Yes. Yes, no. Yes, for writing what? ಏನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ? ML model, correct, Python based. So that works on a GPU cluster, so free. 12 ಗಂಟೆ ತನಕ you can run a 12 model, 12 hours continuously you can run. But if you want to run more than, so if I want to train for example an image model, that would take days. I cannot run it in Google Colab, the free version. I have to pay $300 credit, and that credit it will take the money, keep taking money out of it. Now, Indian government does not want you to do that for far lesser money. We want, I think that's a very, very good initiative. Ensure high performance computing is for the public good. I agree, not a corporate luxury. Now I feel that because I pay for it. So there is a cultural shift which we want to make. AI ethics compulsory in computing. So AI ethics ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? ನೀವು ಚಾಟ್ ಜಿಪಿಟಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬರ್ದಿದ್ರೆ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಚಾಟ್ ಜಿಪಿಟಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬರ್ದಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಂತ. That is not yours. It is AI generated. Ethically ನೀವು plagiarism check ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಹ ನೀವು ರೆಫರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೇಳಿ. There is nothing wrong. At one point of time in 5 years, everybody will be using it, so it's no longer in the conversation. Now there are a few people using it, most of them are not. So you have to differentiate, correct? AI ethics. How are you going to use that data? Is this data stolen? OpenAI is being sued by a lot of companies because they have taken that data without telling the author. For example, New York Times is suing OpenAI, right? Industry, prevent brain drain. Now, what do you mean by brain? How many are here who want to go to the US or UK, Germany? Idira yaradu. Generally, I'll find one student who is there. ಈಗ ಕೈ ಎತ್ತುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಒಂದು ವರ್ಷ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಸರ್ ನಾನು ಮ್ಯೂನಿಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ. Right? Your own daughter is there in Germany doing research. It is not your fault. It is because the opportunities are better. Education is free. For all of those criteria. To prevent that, you have to make sure, at least we, in our generation, more or less, there is only so much we can do. It's all up to you now. Somebody would take an MTech over here and come back to teach. So this conversation should be kept going. Increase PhD stipend. Pivot to research. Move from using tools to promoting knowledge. Start building stuff. And we'll come back to that second part after this. Now, this is what it looks like, and hopefully this graph will go up, right? I don't want the budget being cut down from 1,000 to 500 crores again, right? GPU onboarding, try to get as many GPUs as possible. Hopefully we will get it. Reduce, and this open source and closed source gap is reducing really, really fast. So earlier that gap used to be a year. That means the best model at open source and the best model in proprietary, the gap was 1 year. Nowadays with DeepSeek and other models, DeepSeek nimge download ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. Chinese model, you can download it, you can train it on your data, then that becomes your model. That's what an open source or open weight model, right? Compliance skills. Then you start integrating. So he was talking about agriculture, right? Yesterday's talk. This is what Bharat Vistara. Getting the same AI data. So basically, with this, what you are trying to do, satellite data, weather data, you are bringing under one platform using AI to give data to as the consumer who is the person who is doing agriculture. Talent development, sovereignty. Made in India, sovereignty. The data is yours, the models are yours. You use it the way you want. Correct? Transition from consumer to producer. This is more or less where we will finish with this. So I will conclude. This is the first part. How much time will we have? Another 15 minutes. 15 minutes I'll end with what I will show what is happening right now. Right? So to conclude, basically money spending should be more where we stand. Inclusive ಅಂತಾರಲ್ವಾ, inclusive ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಸಹ include ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. We are right now a pariah, that means ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ನಾವು ಹಿಂದೆನೇ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ನಾವು ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಬರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ if we want to, the effort should be put by policy makers, by us, by faculty, by students to rather than be consumers, be producers, start creating more stuff, build more companies, get your ideas from to be a minimum viable product, MVP and correct. Start putting your research, start getting patents, all of them come under that one umbrella to be producers, right, rather than being consumers. Right, we have to get there. So transition from consumer to producer is not technological, it is cultural. So the idea should change cultural, that we should be able to do it. Nange ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. What prevents you from creating? The freest thing available right now is creation of software. ನಿಮಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಟೈಮ್ ಮತ್ತು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಎಫರ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಬೇರೆ ಏನೂ ಬೇಡ. Anybody who says so software, basically lines of code mathematically relevant comes out of your head. That can be outsourced now to open source models, to closed source models, depending on what you have. Hopefully it will get cheaper, but you can start making stuff and that stuff can start making money. Producers start becoming, in your lifetime you will have a $1 billion company with one person working. Right? So I will end my first part with this. The second part is what is happening right now. So I will come back to my come to my Twitter bookmark feed. Okay. I have moved from my dark mode to this is not generally my code. Dark mode you can't. So, two things I want to show you. One, where is this conversation? Again, from my personal suggestion, if you are not on Twitter, go on Twitter. Now, Twitter is a big mess. You have a lot of politics, you have a lot of things that you don't need. Correct? But one suggestion is this. Try following all of these companies. Nimma favorite company irbodu, Boeing irbodu. Go on Boeing, find out who are the engineers who are working, go and follow all of them. Go to OpenAI, find out people who are working, follow all of them. What happens is you are right in that source of information where before it comes out, you get to know on Twitter things that are happening months before you see it elsewhere. Right? So, two things that I would love to show you. My favorite tool, my favorite productivity tool, and another that producer tool. Notebook LM, yaar use ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ other than him. ಯಾವ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಯೂಸ್? ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್. ಯಾವ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಯೂಸ್? ಮೈ ಎಂಟೈರ್ ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ ಡೆಕ್ that you saw, that is all notebook LM. The data I gave it, I said I want it in this way. You can make wonderful slide decks with notebook LM. You can make wonderful infographic with notebook LM. Right? Other than your Excel sheets, data thing, the Excel sheet one, we will come back to all of them. Right? So slide decks, with the mobile application. So notebook LM is something that you have to use. So, can anybody take, other than him, we had this talk in the morning. Either ನೋಡಿ ಏನು ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ? Software engineering, architecture, domain ownership, AI, stays relevant, great time and go. Build your own ideas. Anthropic announcement of building a C compiler agent in 2 weeks. You know how much time it took? C compiler ಏನಂತ ಗೊತ್ತುಂಟಾ? Turbo C use ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ ನೀವು? So basically you write code that goes into a compiler compiles it, makes it machine code, and then it's able to talk. That took years or decades to make one compiler. ಎರಡು ವಾರದಲ್ಲಿ you had agents, that means I'll come back to what an agent is. Computer agents or AI agents working in the background. This was done by one person in the Claude team. They wanted to know, this is called a long horizon task. So generally ChatGPT ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ 2 ಸೆಕೆಂಡಲ್ಲಿ. Can I give that job like to an assistant and say, okay, go do that job, and not look at that job for 10 hours, 15 hours. After 15 hours, when that job is completed, you know that job is completed or not, right? Long horizon task. That is coming within this time. Okay, this is another. This is all today morning's Twitter feed. Mine. Now, what is this? AI agents will come back. This is Claude Code. Start remembering all of these things. ChatGPT alla. Claude Code is a command line interface. Command line use ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಗೊತ್ತುಂಟಾ? Command line basically, if you want to create apps, if you want to create software, you have to have command line. Bash command anta. Creating directories, downloading dependencies, command line ಇಂದ ಮಾಡೋದು. ನಿಮಗೆ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಲೇಯರ್ ಇಂದ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗುದಿಲ್ಲ. Now Claude Code, Codex, Google CLI are all command line interfaces. What does that mean? It works from the command line, so it can read and write on your computer. You don't have to copy, so it will create directories, it will create folders, it will run all of these tasks from that. So Claude Code is one. Now what it can do, this is coming, agent skills. Now what does it mean? I can teach an AI agent to, for example, learn how to do digital payment, swipe pay, new skill from the web. Once that skill is done by that AI agent, I can incorporate that AI agent. So for example, in the future, you can have how many of you do ANSYS? ANSYS use ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ? You have used ANSYS, no? Now ANSYS you have to do by hand, correct? Imagine you have an AI agent that is able to do the meshing by itself. The biggest problem for us when we do want to do, you don't know how to mesh. Meshing tappe. Imagine that it's not the question of experiment. It is the question of boundary layer. If you have as good as an AI that's able to do that, you can do all your analysis within, a fraction of the time. That is what it is. That's a skill, right? You are able to do meshing. Very similarly, here now these are companies that are building AI agents. This is also, I think, maybe in the curriculum in another 5 years, I would see that here, right? Now, all of these are one-shotted. This was done by ChatGPT Pro. Now, Pro subscription, you have to pay $200 for it. Now, if you pay $20 or even the free account, I think you can with the Codex is there. 2 months now, Codex is free. I don't know how much token is there, but Codex is free through VS Code for all GPT users for the next 2 months. Correct? This is basically an HTML, ordinary HTML website where they were able to create a 2D game. Now, you will find a lot of examples for this. I will show you the best example that I saw today morning. This flight simulation game was built just with Codex. No hand coding, including the graphs. Now that website is down because he's unable to take the traffic. He's giving it for free. He's unable to take the traffic. And you have to build it. He's written over there. I have 70,000 players. Now imagine I tell somebody pay 10 rupees and come for this site. ಎಷ್ಟಾಯ್ತು? 10 ರೂಪಾಯಿ. ನಿಮಗೆ ಸೈಟಿಗೆ ಬರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ 10 ರೂಪಾಯಿ. 7 ಲಕ್ಷ ಆಯ್ತಾ ನಿಮಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ? It was built by somebody who again knows coding, but he has this idea in his head. Instead of him taking 6 months to build something like that, he would have built it in a week. Correct? He's telling now officially trained by because again some server cost. Server cost ಈಗ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಿತ್ತು. 70,000 players ಬರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ you should be able to, that server should be ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವ ಸರ್ವರ್ ಆಗುದಿಲ್ಲ. ನನ್ನ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಇಂದ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ ಆಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗುದಿಲ್ಲ. Correct? Gorgeous game. The way that is built over. Right? So 3D maps. So you can take Mangalore. You can put Mangalore city over here and fly over your jet over Mangalore. Right now the data is not. Okay. So Start remembering these things. Now, anywhere you have this conversation, chat GPT a little bit. Look at all latest model releases. Claude irbodu, Opus irbodu, DeepSeek irbodu, the models are coming out left, right, center every week. I was telling him that Opus 4.6 came, benchmarks where for half an hour, ನಮ್ಮ cricket match last over ಅಲ್ಲಿ by half an hour these people have overtaken, ChatGPT has overtaken their codex model, right? So back-end subreddit now disruptive. What do you mean by this? What it means is that software can be written by you. Now I'll give you very good examples. All of you do flight ನಿಮಗೆ ಏನು ಬರ್ತದೆ drone, correct? Drone control, for example. You have a hardware that is basically a drone control. You want to take that software, put it in your computer to make the drone better, ML data ergo. Now this transfer from here, this is the tough part. Drone gottuntu nimge madlikke. By you know how to connect it, you know how to make it right better. But this transition, trying to get that code to work on your computer, that is where you can start using things like this. CS hour kinta chanagi ಮಾಡಿ. You can always use it to understand code, but start, disruptive software. That is where I think you should be going towards. Alright, so I will stop it over here. Another thing that I think that you should have in mind is put this in your bookmark on your. It's called Open Router. Now, Open Router is a website that gives you API, application programmable interface, API calls to free models and proprietary models. You can test all your models on Open Router, right? Illinda API key ತೆಗೆದು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ you can start using it for free, right? Some of them have server costs, some of them are not. So all of these are small, big. Edge case, you want a router to work on your hardware device that is connected to your, that is there where the controller is there. You can get all of these models from there. So the best place to look, best place to compare all of this is Open Router. API is a and you can, so you can modality, text matrana, image matrana, can it? Not all can do that. Remember, not all models are capable of taking video, audio. Gemini right now is the best for all round, right? Image model, Nano Banana. Has anybody used Nano Banana Pro? Nano Banana for editing bರ್ತದೆ. Try to make an infographic with Nano Banana Pro. I think with Nano Banana Pro you get 2 or 3 per day free. It makes great infographics. So this one is. The last one that I want to show before we finish is I want you to go on VS Code. Now there are 2 ways that you can do it. Okay. One is Google's anti-gravity. It is not the best one that is there, but it gives you a taste of what I'm going. VS Code use ಮಾಡಿದಿರಲ್ಲ? Use ಮಾಡಿದಿರಲ್ವಾ? So this interface looks like VS Code. It's very similar, right? Now I have a few things that I have been running over here. Now here I am already there with my Codex interface. Codex is just a plugin over here. It also has another plugin. So over here you can see it is not GPT 5.2 what is there on your website. This is specifically made for coding, right? Trained for coding. So now today morning, I have not used 5.3 Codex. It came out yesterday. So today morning you will very update any Codex one. So you can select your model. Once you have selected your model, you can select how much is your reasoning. Now what do you mean by reasoning? You are giving it time to think. How much you tell it, should I think for longer, should I think for less, should I reason more, should I reason less? What is the capital of Delhi? I don't need to think too much. There is only one capital for, not Delhi, capital for India. You don't have to think too much. But if somebody asks me, okay, how do I reduce pollution in a city like Delhi? That needs a longer time horizon to think from. So you can think here. So depending on how much you want to make your token size increases or reduces. Okay. Now there are 2 ways that you can run. Right? You can run it on the cloud. Local, I can connect it to. So what do you mean by this? Now right now it is local. I can run it on my computer, but when I am closing my laptop, 1 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ಮನೆಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು, ಬಿರಿಯಾನಿ ತಿನ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಬಂದೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. So locally it can only run. So I can put it to Codex Web. It will go on the cloud. It will run. So even when I am going, that task is running in the cloud web. I don't use Codex Web. It needs too much storage. But just keep that in mind while you are doing it. Okay? That is one reasoning effort. And there is default permission. Now default permission is it will ask me, ಇದು ಮಾಡಬಹುದಾ, ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ವಾ. Full permission, it goes YOLO mode. You know what YOLO mode is? You only live once. So full YOLO mode, it will upload, download by itself. It will take command of what it wants to do. Another thing that is coming for this is something called as plan mode. Now what is plan mode? Plan mode is before it writes any line of code, it will think and make a plan. ಇದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಇದು ಮತ್ತು ನಿಮಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತದೆ ಇದು ನನ್ನ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಹೀಗಿದೆ, ಇದರ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಹೀಗಿದೆ, ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಶೋ ಯು ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಮೂವ್ ಔಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಿಸ್ ಫೋಲ್ಡರ್. Because this is a non-horizon task. ನಾನು ಈಗ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು you just have to look at my computation. Fun. Anybody who is not tried it, I would suggest just watching a computer build stuff in front of you, hands free, is absolutely gorgeously fun. ಈಗ ನಾನು ಇದು ಆನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡೆ 1 ಗಂಟೆ ತನಕ ನನಗೆ ಬೇರೆ ಇದನ್ನೇ ನೋಡಿ ಟಿವಿ ತರ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾನೆ ಏನು ನಡೀತಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಆಯ್ತಾ? I will just make one, let's say to TV here. All of you have played Rummy? That's a terrible spelling for the kids. Now, why did I choose this? I don't need card ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ easy. ನನಗೆ sprite ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. That means I don't need to get graphics from outside. You will ANSI characters ಅಂತಾನೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. Slide deck ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. Okay? So I will go into plan mode. I will open this. Just like you are doing with ChatGPT. Just like you are doing with ChatGPT. You just have to ask. Now I will set it to 5.3 codex and then I will set it to I will put it to the plan. Once you want to write code, you can keep it. Okay? I want to I will keep it locally for now. If I wanted to make an app that can be accessed by a lot of people, then I have to tell you. Now, what I told Praveen sir in the morning, nimge with all of these tools, it is not what line of code is to be written, what does the final product look like to you. ಅದು ಇಟರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಸಾಂಬಾರ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಸಾಂಬಾರ್ ಹೇಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು. ಸಾಂಬಾರ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ರಸಂ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. Then you can tell people, no, rasam is sambar only. This is how we make it in Bangalore. Alva, adu helike agudilla. So if you want to make a web app, then try go somewhere, see what it looks like, take screenshots, see what the back-end structure is. Nimge gotti artha madbekantilla. Just know that this connects to this connects to this. And then it's just a question of Lego blocks and filling. So now, this is the small part. Again, I have not tried it. So you give it, it will shoot off. Now, again I have not given it YOLO, so it kind of goes into the thinking mode. Now the thinking mode is it's using the reasoning for it. This is not connected to my ChatGPT app. Idu adaralli barudilla. Earlier when I came for the earlier demonstration, how many of you were there? Some of you were here. I had shown you that you take this, copy this code in VS Code, run it. That is how I showed it. No? Now it is hands off. Nange ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತಿಲ್ಲ. ನನಗೆ ಫೋಲ್ಡರ್ ಒಂದು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. I am not seeing the file yet. Currently, so it will create. You can see that there's a bash commands. Exact working diagram. Git states ಅದೇ ಬರೀತದೆ. ನನಗೆ push pull ಗಿಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಹಾಕಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಇದೇ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. All I have to do is say yes. ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆಯಿಂದ ಸಂಜೆ ತನಕ yes no ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಇದು ತಪ್ಪಾಗಿದೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು. It is like a PhD level computer scientist who I pay $20 to. 2,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿ. ನೋಡಿ ಬಂತು ನನಗೆ. Which one do you want? ಈಗ ನೋಡಿ ನಾನು ಕೇಳಿಲ್ಲ, ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. I did not know there was a gym rummy. I did not know there was a this customer Indian 13 card rummy. ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ನನಗೆ ರಮ್ಮಿ ಆಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ ನನ್ನ ಇದರ ಹತ್ರ. This is an experiment that maybe next time Netlify I have to put. So I will take recommend. HTML. See, it is as this is plan mode. So I like this version, the HTML canvas. So the skills are not there. That means I have not listed my agent skills idella agilla. Generally adondu skills folder bartade. There is a markdown file. Okay, generally they make a markdown file, write all those skills, and it tells how your agent should behave. You can have a skill, or the agent should be asking me all the time, or agent don't ask me any questions, don't converse with me at all, right? Like a senior engineer in your or your senior faculty in college, right? How should be progressive? Single hand only recommended. Now I will go with what is recommended, but I can change it to my heuristic bot. Now the bot also it will write. This is what I was thinking. Oh, idರಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಂದೆ chess game ಇದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ chess game ಇದ್ರೆ you want a computer on the other side. Depending on how good the chess game is there, the bot will be better. You can change its stages. Now that this one right now does not have internet options. You can select it. Functional minima UI with animation inside. Save and restart. Now this is thinking mode. Now what happens is after all of this it will make up a plan. ಇದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ಸಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಕಮ್. ನೌ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಐ ಸಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣ್ತಿದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಮೈ ಕಾಂಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ವಿಂಡೋ. ದ ಕಾಂಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ವಿಂಡೋ ಇಸ್ 258K, 2,50,000 ಟೋಕನ್. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ 100,000 ಟೋಕನ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಇಸ್ ಬೀನ್ ಜನರೇಟೆಡ್, 93% ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್. As it gets bigger it will compact, but ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ಸ್ ಕಳೆದೋಗ್ತದೆ. It is like you're taking a lot of text, summarizing it and putting it onto it. Plus there is a weekly 5-hour limit, a weekly limit and a 5-hour limit. I have never touched the limit. $20. This same if I wanted to use in Claude, it will stop halfway. Barudilla. So for me, I can use ChatGPT, I can use Sora, I can use this one also for 2,000 rupees. So perfectly worth. Now why am I telling this? In case you have a project that needs a lot of coding, hardware side only, you can pool together, get one for that 1 month, do all your coding tasks. This is very good. Outsource thinking, nothing wrong. But what stack nimge gottirbeku? How do I know that? You take this, put it back, explain this to me, see how it works, look at the code, adadmele ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. But you don't have to sit and write the code. This writes by itself. Now if I idu ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಇದು ಆಗ್ತಾನೆ ವಿನ್ನರ್ ಅಂತ. I have no idea what I am clicking over here. So ಬಂತಲ್ಲ. Okay, so it fits my entire room. Can you see this? Earlier if I wanted to do the JS file, JavaScript file, the HTML file, they are separate ಆಗಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ವೆಬ್ ಬ್ರೌಸರ್ ನಾನು ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಹೇಗಾಗುತ್ತೆ, all of this has to be done separately in a separate window, separate context. Now basically the agent will sit down and run with it, right? Yes, and implement the plan. So I can go over here, I will switch off go here, plan mode is off. Now after this I can just leave my computer over here. I can come back only in case it needs permission. Generally it needs to read and write, ಆಗ ಪರ್ಮಿಷನ್ ತೆಗಿತದೆ. ಮತ್ತು ನನ್ನ ಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಲೈನ್ ಇಂಟರ್ಫೇಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾದರೂ ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ, ಸಪೋಸ್ ಪೈಥಾನ್ ಬರೀತೀವಿ, ನಿಮಗೆ ಲೈಬ್ರರಿ ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದರಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. SciPy ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸೇ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ an ML ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ವೇರ್ ಯು ನೀಡ್ SciPy, it will download. Earlier I used to tell students to do it. ಈಗ git ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಅದರಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಅಪ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ. So it will create this one tree. I don't need to tell it what to create. Okay. So I will end it over here. ಇದು ನಾನು ಕುತ್ಕೊಂಡು ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ it will keep going on. ಮಧ್ಯಾಹ್ನ ಸಂಜೆ ತನಕ I can take this home and sit down. Right side. Again, thank you all. I hope that you do something. Netlify ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಹಾಕಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಇದು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಂತ, right? White code ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು it is agentic code. I don't like white coding. Correct? It is agentic coding. This is the future. It is only go online, see what is Claude bot. ಅದು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಓಪನ್ ಕ್ಲೋ ಆಗಿದೆ, CLAWD Claude as in a crab, Claude bot, and Claude book. So basically Claude bot is an agent that you can control from your messaging app. ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್. So very similar, this agent if I can message from WhatsApp, then that becomes a Claude bot. That Claude bot, there is a Reddit-like site where these bots have come together. There are no humans, it is only bots that talk to each other, that you can pay. These bots pay each other through Bitcoin to get job done, right? They have created their own religion, Claude book. So see where the world is going. Try to incorporate this technology within what you do. Use Notebook LM as much as possible. Easily the best researching tool that is available. I don't have time to show Prism, otherwise I would have showed Prism also. That will take too long for me. But thank you so much. You have been a wonderful audience. Nobody slept, except, right? Other than that, thank you for listening. I hope my enthusiasm has rubbed off a little bit. Nangaste saku. The enthusiasm I have, if it can rub off on you a little bit, and you move. I'll tell you the biggest problem for me as a non-coder coming into this. ನನ್ನ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಹೆದರಿಕೆ, ವಾಟ್ ಇಫ್ ಇಟ್ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ಸ್? ನಾನು ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಆಗ್ತದಾ? ನನಗೆ ಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಲೈನ್ ಇಂಟರ್ಫೇಸ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾನು ಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಲೈನ್ ನೋಡುವಾಗ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಒಂದು ಕರ್ಸರ್ ಬ್ಲಿಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಓವರ್, ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ನನಗೆ, ರೈಟ್? ಒಂದು ಫೈಲ್ ರೈಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ರೀಡ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಮೈ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದೇರ್, ಲೆಟ್ ಸಿ ವಾಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್. ನಾನು ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ? ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಮೂವ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದೇರ್. ಡೇಟಾಬೇಸ್ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ನೋಡು, ಒಂದು ಡೇಟಾಬೇಸ್ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡು, ಮೂವ್ ದೇರ್. Just take that very small steps and keep moving. I will give you one example that you can all do. Aircraft flight data. Do you get it? Right now it is the API open access. Mangalore flight barudu ella kaantade Google alli badre. Try to put a Google map overlay on top of it and try to get that API key and try to see what flights land and come in Mangalore at this point of time. That data is freely available. That API access is free. Map adiyalli agbeku, get that flight data on top, see if you can build that one thing. That is all. So you have an API, you have Google the map data, and you have this API data on top on the web interface. I have done it, so I know I have done it for chips. Madbodu. Just try your hands on it, see if it works, and if it works, please show it to me also, so that I can. Right. Thank you all. And if you have any questions, setting it up, seeing ಯಾರ್ಯಾರು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಹಣ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಕ್ಲಾಡ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡಿ. If it is there, show me also what it looks like. Try to use it through the command line interface. This can be done through command. I prefer VS Code. Command line I am a little scared, but you can use it through command. / command it ನಿಮಗೆ ಬರೀಬಹುದು. So thank you Praveen sir for calling. Thank you for inviting me, and I hope you have a good weekend, all of you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Praveen Shenai, Head of Aeronautical Engineering, and Dr. Sandesh Kumar Rai, Head of the Automobile Engineering, for their constant support and for gracing this occasion. Thank you. My sincere thanks to all the respected faculty members for their encouragement and presence. Thank you, sir. Finally, a big thank you to all my fellow students for your participation. Thank you all for making this program successful. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.